Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I think that's just how loud I am. We may not need a microphone. Do you think we need a microphone? All right. So my name is Amanda Barton. I'm the publisher of the Seniors Blue Book. Each of you have a Seniors Blue Book in your blue bag. The program that you are entertaining yourself with this afternoon is called SBB University, so Seniors Blue Book University. And I always start these presentations off by asking how many in the room are familiar with the Seniors Blue Book? I like your enthusiasm.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Fantastic resource.
I love it. You're going to get recorded later sometime. Thank you. And I always ask how many in the room actually know how to use the Seniors Blue Book. Have you flipped through it? I know this one has. Yes. Teacher's pet. I love it. So I like to explain, if you wait for a crisis to open the book, you're operating in crisis mode. So I always like to explain how to use it in case you do find yourself needing the services. The first half of the book is an A through Z directory of resources for you. So this is where you're going to find services for aging in place, services that will come into your home. It's also where you're going to find doctor's offices, audiologists, ophthalmologists, elder law attorneys, things of that nature. That's all in the first half. The back half is actually where the grids are. So if you're looking for housing or home care options and you're curious what the starting price range are, or if they accept pets, or if they have 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartments, what their minimum hours are, if they're a home health care company and they're coming into your home, all of that can be found back here in the grids. So you'll see that towards the back of the book. That looks like this. So we are a comprehensive resource guide. We list all of those services, whether they support us as an advertiser or not. So if you have any questions about any of those organizations and how to find them and get in touch with them, I will talk your ear off at any time. So without further ado, though, I'm going to introduce you to today's panel. We have a wonderful panel assembled for us here today. And we'll start off with Kevin Amati. He's representing Senior Choice at Home. Kevin, if you want to tell me a little about yourself.
Sure. I'm Kevin Amati. I'm the Area Director of Operations for Volunteers of America, and we are one of the largest providers of housing in the country with a little over 20,200 units of housing across the country in 46 states. I've had the pleasure of living in Cape Coral for 15 years next week, and leading Gulf Coast Village, the community that's right across the street from this center for that same amount of time. Our footprint is growing here in Southwest Florida, and we're getting ready to open up another building called the Preserve in Fort Myers, and a third building that operates just like Gulf Coast Village in Estero. But we also have a home health company, a home care company, and this program that I'm about to share with you. I'm going to pass it along.
Okay, so my name is Brendan Swank. I'm an elder law attorney in the area. My primary office is in Fort Myers, off of Boy Scout Drive, or not Boy Scout Drive, that's where we were discussing gyms, which she's going to that's one of her locations. My location is actually on the 6 Mile. But I've been practicing it's funny, as Kevin was talking, I was thinking about when I first met him. I've been practicing about 15 years, I kind of stopped counting after 10. I just, it's a while now. So elder law attorneys, what do? We do a lot of the same things that estate planning attorneys do. So we prepare documents that hopefully people are thinking about when they're well and not in the middle of a crisis, like Amanda mentioned. Wills, trusts, durable powers of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will. Those are things that estate planning attorneys do as well. We also deal with issues that come up when people pass away, so trust administration or probate if that's necessary. We deal with incapacity issues, so people sometimes need a guardian appointed and dealing with those issues in court. But I think what makes elder law attorneys a little bit different is we focus a lot of attention on what's going on with our clients between the time that they're doing well and the a time of their decease. So we spend a lot of time talking about, well, what are we going to do if somebody gets sick, or what are our options going to be? What resources might you have in your community or personal financial resources to be able to cover some of these things that may happen, because people get sick, things happen, and we want to have a plan in advance. So I think that's what makes elder law attorneys a little bit different, is just we have that focus from the very first time we're meeting with the client.
My turn. Hi, my name is Georgia Klein. I'm a regional marketing director with Around the Clock Fitness. My job is fun. I introduce people to fitness and fun classes and activities. We have 6 locations and growing. So there's one here in the Cape, right off of Pine Island. We have 3 in Lee County, so
Boy Scout.
Boy Scout is one.
Know about Boy
6 Mile. We know about Boy Scout now. So Boy Scout, 6 Mile, and Alico. There's also 2 locations, one in Port Charlotte, one in Sarasota. We were recently acquired by a major corporation, so we're not privately owned anymore. So that means there's going to be a lot more of us. So hopefully you'll love the programs that we offer at our clubs, and you'll seek and find us in more places across the United States and Puerto Rico. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We offer classes. We especially help focus on our seniors by offering and accepting silver sneaker candidates. So if you're eligible for silver sneakers, you can be at our gym for free. So that's a great opportunity for you. And we offer specialized classes just for the silver sneaker participants. So every club in all the 6 locations have special days set aside with special times just for silver sneaker classes. So we can talk about that more as the panel continues. So it's your turn.
Okay. Last but not least, I'm Debbie Grayley-Devnew with Right at Home. Right at Home is a private pay in-home care company. We are a franchise, and out of the 500 franchises in the U.S., we're number 6, and that's due to volume. So we do handle Collier and Lee counties. We provide in-home care with a CNA or a home health aide. And one of the things that we do also is provide a veterans discount. And I think I see at least one veteran here, so I'd like to thank you for your service if you're a veteran. Very good, thank you.
There you go.
So Right at Home provides an agency type of care. So we are an agency, and with that, we are governed by ACA, which is the state governing force for home care, whether it's assisted living, home care, skilled nursing. And that's something that's really important for you to know, because we do check our employees' backgrounds, we do driver's license checks, and we make sure that there's up on their driver's license and insurance themselves, because they will be transporting you. And one of the things that we can transport you for, let's just say, how many people here live alone? Anybody here live alone? So if you have to go to the eye doctor or maybe have a colonoscopy, you cannot drive yourself. This is the kind of thing that we can provide for you, and I've given you a flyer in your bags. It's a $75 program for 4 hours. So the caregiver can come pick you up, make sure you're safely at the doctor's office, and then transport you back home, make sure you have a little soup, or maybe pick up a prescription on the way home. So for 4 hours, that's a really safe way to take care of yourself, rather than going with an Uber. And you know, we can't all count on our kids and our neighbors to transport us someplace. So those are some of the things that I feel are important for you to know. And Right at Home does operate 24/7. We answer our phones on the weekends and at night. And we also respond to your home, your residence, within a 45-minute period. That's really important, because if you've had an incident and you're waiting for somebody to pick you up, or you have a need, 45 minutes, we're able to take care of you. And I think that those are some of the highlights that a home care agency can provide. And there are quite a few home care agencies in the area. I suggest that you make sure that they are agencies. A registry does not employ their caregivers. our caregivers get a W-2. They're on our payroll, and we provide liability insurance for them too. So we'll be covering a little bit more of that as we answer your questions.
And where's a really great place that you can find all of these agencies, Deb?
Right in Seniors Blue Book.
I do that a lot, so get used to it, right? Okay, we're gonna start off with an icebreaker question. And again, I've come up with some of these questions, and they're just to get the dialogue going. I really want to hear your questions, and we like for this to be very interactive, so you don't have to wait for your question for another person to start, or if you have a question for Britton and Kevin just went, that's fine too. Just raise your hand and ask the questions. Also, someone in the room may be too shy to ask, so someone else is probably thinking the same thing that you are, so just raise your hand and ask. All right, so Kevin, we're going to start off. If you could tell us the difference between a traditional continuing care retirement community and one without walls that Senior Choice.
Sure. So who all is familiar with Gulf Coast Village? Okay, good. Gulf Coast Village is a continuing care retirement community, and there are only about 75 of them in the state of Florida. There's about 2,000 of them in the country. So other continuing care retirement communities that are in our county: Shell Point, Cypress Cove, the Terraces of Bonita, and Gulf Coast Village. So we are one of 4 continuing care retirement communities, and our campus is right down the street here. It's a 36-acre campus, and a continuing care retirement community has typically 3 levels of service: independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. And so those are the 3 programs that you typically will see, and you will always, not typically, you will always see in a continuing care retirement community. And that's called a full continuum of services. A continuing care retirement community sometimes is referred to as a CCRC or a life plan, because that's what the contract is. It's truly a plan for life, to say, you know what, I'm going to move into this community, and there's typically an entrance fee that's paid and a monthly service fee based on the apartment size that you identify. And as you age and successfully age on a campus like this, you may move through the continuum of services. And that means starting out in independent living, transitioning over to assisted living, and then if the need ever arises, you may need skilled nursing services. It's there as one package on the campus. So we have been doing this in the field for a little over 100 years now. And Gulf Coast Village has been doing it for 30 years here in Cape Coral. We're part of an organization that has been around for over 123 years. And so we took the exact same concept, where people would move in to an independent living environment or an assisted living and so on and so forth in a continuing care retirement community campus. And we said, you know what? A lot of people are raising their hand and they're saying, my home is my castle and I want to remain at home. So we had lobbied and legislated with the state of Florida to actually take our contract. And what we do is we provide that contract to you in your home, and we give you the option to stay and live in your home for the rest of your life and provide services all the way up to 24 hours worth of services. And if you should ever need to transition to our campus or any one of our services here at Gulf Coast Village, which is very convenient right here on our in Cape Coral, your membership awards you the opportunity to have the benefits of that campus. So what I'd like to point out to you is that in your big program that you received in your basket, there are 4 inserts that will talk about the application process, the membership options, the immediate benefits that you have as a member, and most importantly, the plan coverage. It's this blue one right here. And the plan coverage will provide you with care coordination, which is the very first and most important piece of the program. This is a person who will be by your side to provide you with guidance and provide you with support as you continue to age in your home, because navigating through the healthcare system today is very complex. So the care coordinator is by your side as a member, and emergency response system is provided to you in case you ever should need services in your home. As soon as you hit that button, someone's going to respond to you, and we're going to be informed as well, and you may end up in the hospital. Well, guess what? Your care coordinator is going to show up there as well to help you navigate through that program. Home inspections, wellness assessments, in companions such as the one that was described here by Right at Home. We would provide that service to you for your, through your membership fee. And then if you should ever need skilled nursing or assisted living services, we have a member right now who unfortunately declined to a point where they needed to be in one of our memory support programs. That's $6,000 a month. That person pays us $550 some a month, and they remain in our $6,000 unit per month for just $550 some. So that's just a perfectly good example of where this membership could assist you and help you through your aging process. If you want to learn more, I'll be here, of course, after. And then, of course, you could always contact the number here in the package, and we can set up a personal appointment to see if you're eligible for the program. So you're all here today to gather some information, to educate yourself, and I commend you for that, because we too often see people come to us in a crisis. If you're in the middle of a crisis, the likelihood of you being eligible for a program like this is probably zero. So membership needs to be applied for when you are healthy and you have the ability to make a sound decision on whether or not this plan would work for you and your personal life plan as you age. So I think that's the easiest way I can explain it, because I would have to spend another hour
Which I know you
really
can.
breaking down the continuing care retirement community, and I don't think we have that time today, and I want to respect the rest of the panel's time.
Do we have questions yet? Okay, I've got some in my back pocket I can ask Kevin when we come back around
Sure.
to him. So we will move on down to Debbie. I think we're going to kind of go in a chronological order here. Tell us the differences between home care and home health in regards to Medicare and how it's paid for.
Home health is prescribed. You have to have a prescription from your doctor, usually after you've gone through an incident and been hospitalized or gone through skilled nursing. So home health is covered by Medicare with a specified number of visits. So you will see a nurse maybe once a week. PT or OT would come in several times a week, and they have a set amount of times that they can come into the home, and it's limited. So you may see those people once a week or twice a week for 13 weeks, and that would be all that would be allowed. Private pay home care can supplement the Medicare side. So if you need extra care, like housekeeping, meal preparation, transportation, those are the things that can be covered by private pay. So we often work hand in hand with the Medicare side, because if somebody has a severe wound or you're recovering from a hip replacement, the therapy will go on for so long, and then you still need help at home getting to your appointments and being able to walk the dog. So those are the two differences really. Private pay is what I represent, and other home cares, and we supplement the Medicare side, which has to come from a prescription from your doctor.
Great explanation. Questions? Thank you.
Do you coordinate working with long-term care at home benefits? Because the long-term care one that we got, you have to have two problems with being able to survive in life. Can you explain how that might or might not work?
We do accept long-term care policies, and we will look at yours with you to assess what type of needs will be covered. And I don't know if anybody else wants to.
I'll jump in on that. So what you're describing is that you need 2 activities of daily living in order for your long-term care insurance to kick in. Who else has long-term care insurance in here? So programs like Debbie had mentioned work excellent with long-term care policies if it was written the way most are to support a home care or a home health provider. Senior Choice at Home does a great balance with long-term care policies because this is a program that will help supplement what your policy may be missing. In addition, a long-term care policy it can only kick in when you have an immediate need. And I think that Senior Choice at Home, you should really take a look at this because it really complements it and provides you with a coordinator and a provider that you've already learned who they are and who's going to provide those services to you. Because the second you need that policy, you're now making a phone call and they're saying, yep, you are qualified, now go find somebody. So you're doing the right thing to start to educate yourself and learn, well, what's out there? When I do need it, who do I call?
Well, with our long-term care policy, they supposedly have got people who work with us when or if we have a need to go ahead and find somebody that will complement their insurance policy. Mutual Omaha, who we have, is that one that you would work with?
We work with all of them.
All of them.
We work with most of them as well.
Do you?
And a lot of it depends on the type of policy that you have. There are restrictions. Some are only for in-home care in a community, as Gulf Coast Village or assisted living, and some have a broader horizon that's covered.
We have dual, either going into some sort of facility or staying at home.
You did good.
Yeah.
If I can keep up with the price increases and cut
Sure.
back in benefits.
Sure, and if you do have a long-term care policy, what we do is, because you've taken on some of that risk yourself, because you have a policy now, we actually reduce our fees off of your long-term care policies because we're sharing risk now on providing that service. So you see a considerable amount of money coming off of membership fees and monthly service fees when you have a long-term care policy with the Senior Choice at Home program as well.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Georgia, can you kind of go over some of the different programs that are available, such as Silver Sneakers or any special programs that you suggest for people that are aging when they want to stay in their home?
Absolutely. I hope you can hear me. So I understand most of everyone here would prefer to stay at home if possible. If you decide that you do want to keep exercise in your home, independent of any place else, then we always ask that you are prepared. If you're in your home, play it safe, reduce your risk of injury, make sure that you have the proper gear. So you want to definitely start slowly, do some low intensity exercises, wear appropriate shoes, always make sure that you are shopped and prepared, warm up before exercising, cool down afterwards, that's important. Pay attention to your surroundings when you're exercising so you don't injure yourself. Drink plenty of water before, during, and after. We talked about dressing appropriately. If you are not going to be working inside the house and you prefer to go outside, take a walk, be it, or do some walking lunges or whatever you're doing outside, make sure that you dress accordingly. Definitely do not want to get overheated. And if you have special health conditions, discuss this with your physician and make sure that your healthcare provider is on board. If you'd like to take it out of the home, we invite you to come to our gyms. please do so. There's 3-day passes clipped onto the pamphlet that I provided in your bag. We talked a little bit about those Silver Sneakers classes. So the Silver Sneakers program was designed especially for seniors in mind. They are low intense, but they have the ability to exceed as you improve. There are multiple levels. Basic classes start with seated, then standing while still holding onto that chair, then eventually releasing. You don't have to have the chair. We work on core, endurance, and balance and strength. That's going to help you in everyday life. So picking up, moving, make sure that your movements are soft, bend at the knee, make sure you're hydrated, we talked about that. The Silver Sneaker classes, each club offers those particular classes, certain days, certain times. They're always in the morning. They range anywhere from 9 a.m., they stop around 11:30 to noon. They can run up to 4 days a week. I know that the class schedule in Cape Coral runs 5 days. So you would just need to call the club location and find out what their schedule is like. With that 3-day pass, you can come on in, try it out. There's no cost. If you love it, yes, absolutely. We encourage you to join. The rates are $29.99 per month plus tax. There's a 30 days cancellation fee, 30 days cancellation notice. And those classes are included. So for the $30 plus that you pay every month, you can come to those specialty Silver Sneaker classes just for your style of workout at no extra charge. Any questions? Yes.
Where is your Cape Coral location?
It's not very far from here. It's down off of Pine Island Road.
And where?
And Nicholas. Oh, that's a good hot spot.
Bonefish.
Across from Bonefish.
I go by food.
Yeah, so I know we're down the road
I go by
from
martinis.
Nicholas. Any other questions?
Georgia, is it, correct me if I'm wrong, is there like through a AAA or their insurance, is there a way to get the Silver Sneakers credit or?
I'm not sure about that.
I feel like
Do you
I've
know?
heard that
She
before.
knows.
Yeah.
I do know. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, check with your provider. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield and I am able to pay approximately $25 a month. And I can go to any gym that's on their program, and Around the Clock Fitness is on that
Yeah.
plan. So if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, check and see if you're interested, then you can.
I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's probably why I know that. I feel like it
good for you.
it went in my ear.
So yes, if you're insurance carrier, we are a provider, and we're, I guess, in-network-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, your membership would be covered, so you wouldn't have to pay anything at all to come.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Do any of your facilities have a pool?
No, we do not have pools. We do have steam room and sauna. But all classes are included, and you're invited and welcome to attend any of them. We have yoga classes, we offer spin, Group X. The Group X area is very large and accommodates all levels. Things from body pump and step. You might like Zumba. There's a new program that we've incorporated. It's called La Blast. It's fun dance movements, no weights, no bands. Work at your own pace, but it's really big on.
I'd like to just add, and I think Around the Clock Fitness is a great place. As a member of Senior Choice at Home, you get to use all the amenities and services that we have on the campus over at Gulf Coast Village. So if you wanted to swim, or if you wanted to participate in the wellness program over there, if you wanted to dine on the campus, as a member, you have access to the programs on the campus with Senior Choice at Home as well. So not to take away any of your thunder, but I failed to mention that, and I wanted to mention that. Sorry.
I know. We could do a whole panel on Senior Choice at Home.
We could.
So many amenities.
I'm in.
All right, Britton, you're up.
Do you have a question?
I do. I think it's really important that people pre-plan. Can you tell us what type of legal documents are of the utmost importance to make sure you have in place?
Sure.
So I know this always, everyone's super excited
Oh, yes.
to do all of these things I'm about to talk about. And, everyone wants to just get out there and do this. But it is true that it really is so much better to be thoughtful about making these decisions and feel like you have time and get the right fit for you, versus somebody's sick and you're in the middle of the crisis. It really limits your choices, and there's a lot of, it's just a very stressful time to be doing these things you should have done before. So with that being said, I think the basic foundational documents that people need to be aware of are going to be your will. So pretty much everybody that comes into my office has some idea of what a will is. You see them in the movies. There's always some dramatic reading of the will, and someone invariably is left out in the cold on that. But so it's who gets your stuff when you pass away if there is a probate. So wills do not avoid probate. A lot of misconceptions about that. People think, oh, I have a will, so I'm not going to go to, nobody's going to court, there's not going to be any sort of court proceeding. That's false. A will is great, but it does not avoid probate. So I'm just going to kind of give you some quick summaries of what each document is. So a will is who's in charge and who gets your stuff when you pass away if there is a probate. That's the direction the will gives. And short of being a convicted felon, for example, is not going to be eligible to be in charge in Florida. You can't be a minor, and you're not going to be able to pick your best friend from North Carolina to be your personal representative here, unless your best friend also happens to be a relative. So we do have some restrictions in Florida about who can be in charge. If you're related, it's generally not going to be an issue, but I do sometimes have clients who want to pick a non-family member that doesn't live in Florida, and so we may have to have a trust for that reason, because we don't have a restriction in Florida on residency with respect to trustees. So that's what a will is. Then, and I'm going to say, when people come in and they've decided they're going to do this kind of planning and move forward, that tends to be the focus. It's what's going to happen to my things when I pass away. Really, what scares me the most is not having a durable power of attorney. And I just think the reason people aren't concerned about it is they just don't realize it's such a big problem. And it really is. It's probably the biggest challenge I see on a weekly basis. And my paralegal, Tricia, is here. She would probably tell you the same thing. It's constantly an obstacle to our ability to help people. So a durable power of attorney, think of that as your money person. So this is the person that, we're not talking about when you're gone and deceased and you don't need your money anymore. We're talking about when you're alive, but you're just not able perhaps to do, get your bills paid, or we need to take money out of your IRA to help pay for things. Well, that's in your name alone, and it doesn't matter if you're married and you've been married for 50 years, your spouse has no right, no access to get to your IRA in your name alone. Same issue comes in with homes. I've had to be the bearer of bad news many times to be able to have to explain to a spouse. I'll give you an example. Somebody had a spouse that they were determined to care for at home, and that spouse had memory issues. They had adult children that lived out of state, and there was a significant size difference in the two spouses. The wife was a pretty small person. The husband was, I had one case where the husband was, I think, 6'7". So at some point, this just is not going to be safely managed. And this family kind of got together and decided the best thing would be for the parents to sell their home here and move closer to the adult children up north. The wife had no durable power of attorney, and her husband had never signed a durable power of attorney. So unfortunately, what that meant is that we had to file guardianship proceedings so that she could get court permission to sell their home and move out of state and manage that situation. So when I'm talking about this is the biggest obstacle I see, these are the kinds of situations that come up when you don't have a durable power of attorney. I will say this is a big deal. When you sign a durable power of attorney, you're potentially giving someone a whole lot of authority and access. They are effective immediately. So think about that. So my husband is my agent and my durable power of attorney, and I'm sitting here talking to all of you, and he could be cleaning me out at the bank right now. So you do not pick someone to be your agent if you do not trust that person 100%, not to rip you off and show up in Las Vegas with your life savings. You have got to pick the right person. And the reality is, for some of my clients, that means there's no one in their family that they can pick. You know, we do not have a good candidate. So that's something that you have to spend some time thinking about. But I think really that's one of the biggest pieces to an estate plan, and because it affects your ability to get good care and to manage your situation while you're alive, it's pretty important to me. I certainly care about my clients' wishes being followed after they're gone, but I'm really focused on making sure we can help them while they're still alive and need their assets. Then your medical person, okay, so your power of attorney is your money person, your medical person, that's your surrogate. So that's not end of life, that's just, you can't, for whatever reason, make your own medical decision right now. So that's what we call in Florida a healthcare surrogate. Then the end of life issues is covered by a living will. A lot of people saw, if you were residents here in Florida, you certainly were aware of this Harry Shivo case. Even people across the country are very aware of that. But it played out here in the state of Florida. And so I think certainly one good thing to come out of that is it brought a lot of attention to the importance of making your wishes known, because a lot of what happened in that case is there was no real written evidence of what her wishes were. So a lot of issues were argued and litigated in that case, but it just sort of brings home the consequences of not taking the opportunity to make those decisions yourself. And I really think too, those are all things that you do not only for yourself, but because you have people in your life that you love and you want them to be able to navigate situations as efficiently and as stressless as you can make it. And these are going to be times that are stressful, period. You know, why make that more difficult? We have people that come into our office with shoe boxes of papers. They don't know anything. We're searching for hours going through paperwork. They don't know where the bank accounts are. I mean, it's such a hard thing to put people through. So all these things are really things that you're trying to not only take care of yourself, but also take care of those people that you're putting in place. And there are also some other documents too.
I got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea about some of this, but if you were my attorney, my elderly law attorney, then could you be my agent for my money? If I trust nobody.
Well, here's what I do. I do have some clients where we have that discussion. I don't like, from an ethical standpoint, I don't like to prepare a document that gives me a job later. I think it just looks fishy. That's my personal position on it. What I do in those cases is I try to find a professional. In fact, I've got a case right now where we're working on this. There's some professionals in the community, professional fiduciary or a professional guardian. That's somebody who is appointed by a judge in court cases, but they are oftentimes willing to serve as somebody's agent, a power of attorney, or healthcare decision maker. And so I try to get to talk to the client. I figure out, sometimes are you more comfortable with a woman or a man? Does it matter? Tell me a little bit about yourself. So I try to match people's personalities. And so I have a client who's interviewing within the next week or so, a professional guardian to see whether that might be a good fit for her. And, you know, because that's kind of a tough proposition, somebody that you don't know putting them in your documents. But I one time had a client who was talking about naming his grandson, who honestly had a rap sheet that you could stretch out down this table, and it was terrifying. So I think if you do your due diligence, we can find a professional that, you know, is licensed and yes, insured and all of these things. And I think sometimes a professional guardian adds an added layer there, because you're dealing with somebody that a judge trusts, so that helps in terms of confidence. But my problem is, although I want to be able to help my client, I just don't like to draft a document that's giving me something potentially on down the road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever mention to them about funeral arrangements?
I do. In fact, that's on my intake. I have a
Questionnaire?
I've sometimes been told painfully long questionnaire, in particular by my own husband, who had special words for the whole process, but I'll just leave it at that. But the reason we ask a lot of those questions is in part because we're trying to get people to at least start thinking about those things. And so I encourage people to go ahead and decide. I like to put that in the document, you know, and particularly people that want to be cremated, because there have been many litigated cases over cremation, for example. People have religious objections to that, and for a variety of reasons, that those cases have ended up in the court system. And so if you know what you want, you're pretty sure you're not going to change your mind, I encourage people to go ahead and make and pay for those arrangements. And, you know, certainly you need to be smart about the questions that you ask. I mean, I have clients who are still traveling a lot. You need to say, well, what if I'm on a cruise off the coast of Spain, you know, Italy somewhere, and I pass away? I need to know how this would work. And you can purchase different, as you can imagine, like anything else, different packages, sort of. And I think, but I do think that's a great thing to go ahead and take care of.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add something too. In case of emergency, ICE. This follows along with getting organized, as Britton spoke about. You can plug your best friend's name and your husband's, maybe your children's name, into your phone and put after their name ICE. If something happens to you, the paramedics can actually look that up on the phone. So you will have one of these in each of your bags, and it's a good idea to fill it out, and it's got a magnetic strip on the back. So if something would happen and the paramedics came to the home, they could find this right away, put it by the front door, on the refrigerator.
A note on my front door. I live alone in an apartment. For emergency information, see refrigerator. Door. That is on there. All the doctors listed, my current medications, and emergency contacts.
And
Very good.
and make 2 copies. This way the EMS can grab one and leave one up there, you know, so they'll bring it with you.
She is on it. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned healthcare surrogate. Now, is that a separate paper, or is that part of the durable?
It's different. So they're 2 different. Typically, you're going to see separate documents. I will tell you, if you are a transplant, so if you've come from another state, these states all have to have our separate names for things. And so some states have what's called a healthcare power of attorney, which makes it a little more confusing. But in Florida, your money person is your power of attorney. That's typically one document. And then your surrogate is your medical decision maker. That's a separate document. It may or may not include the living will portion. The reason I can tell you that we separate the financial decision making from the medical decision making is because those are two different, very different types of jobs that you're asking someone to do. And I always use this example of my sister-in-law. She is fantastic. Love her. She's wonderful. She's very organized. I'm surprised sometimes that my brother doesn't have a husband label across his forehead because everything is all, and she's great with money and always knows where the coupons are and all these things. But if she goes into a hospital, I mean, she starts breaking out into a sweat. My niece had a medical problem. I had to leave the office, go out to Health Park, and the minute I got in there, they were waiting to put the IV in until I got there because they thought she was going to pass out. She is not going to be in my medical healthcare surrogate, I can assure you. She would be a wonderful power of attorney, a wonderful trustee, but I don't need someone hitting the floor when I'm in the middle of a healthcare crisis. So part of the reason for the separation is the ability to pick the right person for the right job, because they're just two very different things you're asking someone to do. Not to say it couldn't be the same person, but I also, I have a lot of clients that have children, and I'll say, well, why did you pick Susan first and Fred second and James third? Well, James is the baby. That's not really the best way to go about that process, because James may be, a physician. He's going to survive that process or not be haunted by those having to make that decision. I've had other parents say it would just be too hard for so-and-so to have to do that. So that's why. Yes, ma'am.
I have long-term health care. Now, my question is, if in the future the expense goes skyrocket, and I just drop it, I've just dropped it, right? There's nothing I can get from the past. I mean, I want to keep it. I want to. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but I know it's happening to somebody else.
I've seen people do that, and I think
are going up.
Kevin can.
Yeah, so her question was, she has long-term care insurance and her premiums are skyrocketing. And don't be surprised if you see 10, 12, 15, 17% increases on some of those premiums, because when you purchased it, actuarially, that's an insurance term that basically says we may not have calculated this correctly, and we're starting to see a lot of services that are needed with our client base, and so they're seeing an escalation of costs. And so they need to make up some of that money. And so you're the money that they're making up. So with a program like Senior Choice at Home, what's built into the program is an inflation protection. And so we have that built into the program, but at the same time, it may make sense for you to keep that program and to subsidize what's missing out of the program with the Senior Choice at Home program. So we can speak after this if you'd like.
And I think a lot of the new policies they take that into consideration when they're doing them. It's the older policies where you're seeing that skyrocket cost because they underestimated the length of time people were living and the amount of care that they were going to need along the way. So
I do have, I can think of one client in particular who had it and let it go for the reasons that you're talking about, and then both spouses have ended up with some long-term care related issues, diagnosis, and in that situation, if they don't have the financial resources to privately pay, we have to look at other options like Medicaid, for example, or if there's a veteran, there's surviving spouse of a veteran, then we're looking at other options in that respect. But it's you hate to see somebody end up letting it go
because you paid into it this whole time.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
The Senior Choice at Home program has been built in by this because the state protects our clients, and so they've written into law so that if you do run out of resources, that the program will continue to provide services to you. it's built into the program as well.
So that's a layer of protection that you don't get with insurance. Yes, ma'am.
On this home, if I get tired of staying at home, I can go to Gulf Coast afterwards?
You sure can, and actually the state of Florida just approved a contract called the Bridge Program for us just last week, where we do have members that have said, you know what, my home is my castle. I want to live there. I love where I live. But their spouse had passed away, and they said, you know what, we've been coming to Gulf Coast Village, we've been experiencing your dining programs, your wellness programs, and everything, but I don't want to be home anymore. So they got to use a portion of their membership fee, and they got to apply it towards a membership fee on the campus. So that is what the Bridge Program is. So what we've done is we've absolutely have gone 100% around and have built a program that you can stay in your home and use the services of the campus, and or you can move in and enjoy all the amenities and services on the campus as well. So really, as you continue to explore your options, this is one program that I would encourage you to see if you're eligible for and to see if it makes sense for you. It doesn't make sense for everybody. And we deny more people than we accept into the program. And the reason is they come to us too late. They're in a certain state or condition in which they're no longer eligible, and then they can't participate in the program.
Give them an example of what would make them ineligible so they understand.
So if you have a neurological issue right now that's in your diagnosis, you would no longer be eligible. If you have some sort of level of dementia and or Alzheimer's, unfortunately you would not be eligible for the program. But if you are eligible for the program and the next day you have a stroke and you need 24-hour services, that would be necessary for you to be in a secure environment because your home is no longer safe, you, your family member, and Gulf Coast Village and Senior Choice at Home would make a decision to transition you into one of our memory supports as well. And as long as you continue to pay your membership fee, which averages about $550 a month, your services would be covered.
I thought at Gulf Coast you ran out of money and you still took care of it.
You thought correctly. So if you are eligible for this program or at Gulf Coast Village, if you do run out of money, so long as we're in operation, we're going to care for you for the rest of your life. Yes. And if you should need long-term care, meaning you may need to end up in a nursing center or a nursing home, there are only 3 of those providers here in the city. I would suggest that you go visit those 3. We're one of them, because you could end up needing services from one of those 3. So use your eyes, use your nose, use your ears, and go in and continue to investigate to see where would I need to get my services here in this community if you should ever need them.
So just like you're having a health care assessment to see if you qualify for this, they also do a financial assessment because there is a risk involved, as Kevin was
Oh,
saying.
I'm not afraid there. I already know what it costs. That's why I want to stay at home.
They want to make sure that you're not going to
Sure.
run out of money. That's
Well, sure. So we do look at your financials
That's correct.
because you would want me to protect the program. So we won't accept people who have no resources because we can't. It's just not possible.
Oh, I moved
So,
tomorrow.
but we do provide Medicaid services at Gulf Coast Village. You would never know who they are, where they live, because that's just part of our ministry, part of our church, and what we do. So we do provide Medicaid services in our campus as well. And they have private rooms too.
Oh, I would move tomorrow, but I don't want to get rid of my junk.
Well, you don't have to move tomorrow. You have a perfect program that you can look at right now. And we coordinate services when you do need home health services. Right now we're talking with Right at Home. You know, we do have our own home health company, but we can't keep up with the demand on the home health side of our home health company because their needs are so great right now.
I know we have a
Kevin, if one were to join your program, organization, and later decided to move, say, elsewhere in state or even out of state, is your organization big enough to handle?
So the question was, what happens if I don't want to be in Cape Coral any longer and I want to move out? We have a portability that you can participate in as well, and you can move anywhere in the continental USA. So say you have a second home somewhere in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. If you end up moving back to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, or maybe you have a summer home there. If for whatever reason you need services, we have already identified and partnered with people in that particular area. And if not, we have a process to go through that we would identify people that would service you in that particular area. So anywhere in the continental USA. Our organization is $2.4 billion in revenue per year. We've been around for 123 years. We're in 46 states and the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico as well.
How about Nevada?
We are in Nevada.
Las Vegas?
Not Las Vegas, no.
Oh!
Just closer to Colorado.
Go to Reno.
Yeah.
But even though they're not in Las Vegas.
It doesn't matter.
If they had a partner in Las Vegas.
We have partners everywhere across the entire country. So even if, you know, it's in ABC, you know, Cartersport, Pennsylvania, we would contact the local home health company and home care company there, and we would immediately form a contract with them, knowing that you have a possibility of being there. We would already have that contract in place with a home health company, a home care company, an assisted living, and a skilled nursing, just to make sure that we've wrapped everything around you, and your care coordinator would provide those services with you.
I'm not asking for me, it's my brother. He's out there.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, Debbie, I'm going to round it back around to you. Tell us what a care plan is and how you work with your clients to make sure that their needs are taken care of.
A care plan allows you to be really organized and also to choose the people that will be helping you with your daily living or transportation or whatever is going on in your life. So a care plan would be people just like this at this table who come together and help you with whatever it is you need. It could be a geriatric care manager who will come and visit you and oversee all of your care, or it could be us working with the Medicare side with somebody like Trilogy or Nurse on Call or some of the other Medicare companies. It could be a variety of people that you need to help take care of you or your loved one. And this would be something that's in writing and you have somebody that's in charge of the care plan, like a geriatric care manager or a specific person at the home health side. So care plan really follows what Britton has been saying about being organized and getting your ducks in a row and helping you before you get into that crisis mode, before that illness strikes.
I think another really great way to look at it too is that you're setting the expectations of what is expected of you as the home health care company and what's expected of the person that you're caring for. So everything is written down and there's no confusion or there can be no authority.
So it's organized. And another example of that would be too, in the care plan to have your hurricane prep set up. It doesn't cost a thing to pre-register with a home care company, but it's peace of mind. Whether it's with Kevin at Gulf Coast Village, whatever the situation might be, I've lived here 30 years and I think I've been through a good half a dozen hurricanes. I'm sure many of us have. Just having the preparation, if you know where you're going, do you need a special needs shelter? Do you need transportation? Does your loved one need oxygen? That's all the kind of thing that would be covered to organize a care plan and also in doing some pre-hurricane, pre-storm preparation.
Fantastic.
And as a member of Senior Choice at Home, you would be eligible to come to Gulf Coast Village Category 4 Hurricane Shelter and stay with us during that process.
I think Kevin would take you even if you're not a member, right? I'm kidding.
We took 500 last year. So,
too. Wow.
All right, any questions?
this year, we won't be able to do that though, because the governor came up with a new rule that said that if you have an assisted living or a skilled nursing, you must maintain 96 hours of air conditioning. So if I were to add 500 people into Gulf Coast Village, we wouldn't be able to maintain 80 degrees for that length of time with as much diesel and backup supply, power supply. So
Picking up what you're putting down.
yeah.
Okay, Georgia, tell us some of the best exercises that someone can do that they're aging, like Tai Chi. What are some of the recommendations that you have?
Okay, well, let's see. With health and fitness, and I'm going to tie it all in with what's the big goal here, and that is that you want to stay at home. So if you want to stay at home, you need to stay active. So coming to the gym is vital. It also changes the scenery, gets you someplace. I'm assuming most people drive. If they don't, they have means of transportation to get where they want to be.
Debbie can help them.
Debbie can help them, and I'm sure if they wanted to just hop right across the street at Gulf Coast Village, they could be there too real easy. But yeah, if you decide to come to the gym, we have specialized, certified training specialists. So all of our coaches are certified. We do a lot of work with our seniors. We have some specialty coaches that train especially with the seniors. Mostly core and balance. Those are the biggest things, and of course, you know, you're well aware of that. One quick slip and it's not pretty. So we do work on light weights, bands, the seated exercises that are offered in those, and I keep promoting the Silver Sneakers classes because that's exactly where you need to be for what you're looking for, what your goals would be. Training, there are different levels built right into the class. So you can be in one same class with 15 other people. Half of you are standing, half of you are seated. Some are holding on to the Silver Sneaker chairs that are available. Some are not. And that is the training expertise that comes in place with the specialists, so with the coaching. And those are club-wide. So it's not just one place that you need to be at. We're conveniently located. So it's easy enough to get where you need to be. We'll work on those techniques. Working with your own personal trainer if you wanted to take it another step. So let's say you're really enjoying the Silver Sneaker. Come up with core workouts for you. So when you come in, you check in, it's real easy. You find your trainer, or they come to you, you wait at the front desk, they'll send the trainer to you. They do a first-time assessment. So they'll talk about what your goals are, what are your special needs. They do your full body testing, so we work on your metabolic rate, where you are, where you need to be. They come up with a special trained program for you. So when you're with your trainer, talk about those fitness goals. We also help you with your diet. And what are some important things that you need to be eating? What are some special things that you need to be avoiding? We all know it, but usually if you write things down and you actually see how your diet's been going, it could be a red flag for you. Oftentimes, seniors just don't eat enough, and that's true. My parents live at home, independent. My dad's 93, my mom's 88. They also could use a little help when my sister and I are not available. But those are the things that your trainer would work on with you. Would be some core nutritional ideas and helpful facts and how to work on improvement. They have that sheet for you. When you're not working out with your trainer, you can have that sheet with you. And then you work on those goals and what are the weights and what are the band exercises that were gone over with you that you can use. And then the next time you meet with your trainer, talk about the things that you've accomplished, and then they change the game up a little bit so you're not working on the same routine. We often plateau. We want to totally avoid that. So we try to make it fun.
One thing is to keep your active brain.
No.
Brain active?
Keep your brain active. It's not sex. dancing.
Oh, look at that.
It is one of the best things that you can do to stay in shape.
The guys love that.
We're paying her by the hour. Any questions? Okay, we'll ask Britton one more question, and then I'll leave the rest of the time for any of those folks that were too shy to ask their question out loud that has any individual questions for the panelists. We'll wrap it up after this very important message from Britton Swain. Are you ready?
Are you going to ask me a question?
There are a lot. There are a lot of what you call transplants in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Is it necessary for them to have their documents reviewed when they become residents of Florida?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It doesn't necessarily mean everything needs to be redone, but there are some issues with interstate documents. So I'll give you an example. Just this week, I looked at a will that was prepared out of state. I think it was New Jersey, New York, somewhere. And it was actually, it was prepared in an attorney's office up there. It appeared to be validly executed according to Florida's laws. And here we have to have, you sign the will, 2 witnesses have to sign the will, everybody's supposed to see each other sign. This is why before I have a will signing, I ask, does anyone need to use the restroom? Because we're all about to be trapped in this room for the next 15 minutes. Because if you leave, it's gonna blow the whole thing, and we have to start over again. So part of it in this, when I was looking at this person's will, is I said, as long as it still reflects your wishes, it appears to be validly executed even to Florida law. So if you have the original, this would work here. The issue with this particular one was it's not what we call self-proof. So after we sign the will in the office, then we have what we call the self-proof step. And that's where the person who signs the will signs an extra piece of paper, the witnesses sign it, and that is notarized. And everybody is sworn. So you're all put under oath that, you knew you were signing your will, everybody's told the truth, everybody saw everybody sign, and it sort of recites that we followed this ceremony that Florida law requires. And what that affords us later is the ability to get the will admitted to probate court without having to go find these witnesses. So when I was looking at this person's out-of-state will, I said, yes, if this still reflects your wishes, this could be used here in Florida. However, do you know who, Susan Smith is that witnessed this will in 1982? No. Do you know who Philip Levine is that signed this? No. And I said, well, we're going to have to find one of them. And so I've had cases where I'm trying to find a witness to a will that this thing was executed before I was born. And, naturally you go through the routine and these people are dead too, the witnesses to the will. And so it just leads to all this extra complication sometimes. So it's not so much, for example, that a will is invalid here, it's how is it really going to work the way you thought it was going to work. The big problem, though, I would say with out-of-state documents is definitely the durable power of attorney. We have very particular rules here, statutes, very particular, you've got to be very specific. And I'll tell you, some of those out-of-state documents lull people into a false sense of security. So in other words, you have a power of attorney, and maybe Connecticut only requires 1 witness, or just the notary. I've seen that too. That will work probably at the bank. If you sign someone else, if you sign the check, so my husband's name is Ralph Lloyd Swank III. My son's name's not Ralph, by the way. That was it. The buck stopped with my husband. So if my husband signs a check for me as my power of attorney, the best way for him to do that is to say, Britton Swank by Ralph, POA, or Britton Swank by Ralph Swank, agent. So it's very clear he's not signing individually for me, he's signing in the capacity as my agent. That out-of-state document with your 1 notary is probably going to be fine at the bank. But if you try to sell your house here, that's not going to work. And so the problem with those out-of-state documents a lot of times is you don't realize it doesn't work here until you really have to use it. And then it's too late. You know, if your spouse is incapacitated, or you know, they're not well enough to sign a new document, that's where you run into the problem. So when I have a 5-year-old grandmother, she just had a birthday recently, and she for a while went from Florida to Texas, and I said, you've got to go see an elder law attorney in Texas. I love you, but I'm not taking the bar there. I don't know anything about Texas law, and you need to make sure this is going to work. And she complained and said, you know, after she went, this is highway robbery, he wants to charge me such and such, and it was fine. It was just reasonable. He wasn't trying to take advantage of her or anything. But that's why, because I've just seen it enough times that the cost of not getting it right is so much more than just clean it up on the front end. And if you just go see an attorney and they say, yes, it looks great, at least you know, took that opportunity to make sure while you still have the chance to fix it and make it a relatively less expensive fix. Yes.
We moved down here from Ohio and had everything taken care of in Ohio. And I heard parts of a conversation at church, and we just a couple months ago went to an attorney here in the Cape and had everything redone. Because, and she's also licensed in Ohio.
I know who you're talking about. She's a friend.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
We're all on board with you. Who it is.
I didn't
We're all
mean
connected around here.
What we had done back then in Ohio was okay, but not with all the initial, the signing the papers.
Oh, yes, your
Yes,
attorney. Yes.
down here
Yes.
for the rules and laws, and the children and the grandchildren were no longer 4 and 5 years old
Right,
now.
right.
They're, you know, in college, a couple of them, and so things.
It's different.
We kept it basically the same, but more legal.
Well, and that's really
Do you know what I
a
mean?
smart thing to do.
It
Just
sure
have it
is.
checked. At least somebody's able to say to you, look, even if your wishes are relatively the same, and we got older kids, or maybe a granddaughter has gotten married or something. I mean, those aren't the big deals.
No.
It's this isn't going to work that way here.
But a lot
Yeah.
of stuff wasn't signed the way you
Well,
were describing. We didn't understand it, but I still don't. I'm not going to try to. Terminology, that's your job. You know, we do that. We do better. She said, sign here, and we signed. You know.
But there's a reason for all of
But
those things.
yes,
and
it was for our benefit, but for children's benefit.
yes,
They're going to have to handle this.
yes. Yes.
Or deal with it.
And that power of attorney statute now in Florida, which has been different since 2011, which has been a while, but for the law, that's a relatively recent law. You have to do a lot of initialing now. So that was probably one of the more painful documents for you to sign, because there are certain paragraphs that you got to put your initials next to, or it doesn't work. So.
Good question. All right. Kevin, would you like to give the closing remark?
Sure, closing remarks. So, if you love where you live and you want to stay at home and you want to protect your assets and you don't want to burden your neighbors, your kids, and so on and so forth, and have peace of mind, I would ask you to continue to explore Senior Choice at Home and all the other options that are out there in the community so that you can successfully age. That's all I got.
Does anyone else have any closing remarks? Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. We'll see you next month. We do have a sign-in sheet for senior living options in Southwest Florida, and there's flyers in your bag for the next month one as well. If you have individual questions for the panelists, please see them.